Right, good morning, everybody. Apologies to those who have been waiting. We are due to start now. My name is Sarah. I look after marketing and customer engagement at NetThreat. I'd like to thank you for joining us this morning, and also thank you to those who will be watching this briefing on demand. I'd like to also thank our panel this morning. So we have Stan Davidson, SonicWall Presales Solutions Architect. Good morning, Stan. Thank you for joining us. And of course, many of you will know Pete Cord, NetThreat Account Manager. A little bit of housekeeping before we hand over. The session is due to last for approximately 30 minutes. Obviously, if we get overwhelmed with questions, that may be slightly extended. We will be recording the session so that we can actually make it available as an on-demand briefing. And there will be an opportunity for Q&A at the end. Anything you think of, please use the Q&A and chat facility, and we will do our very best to answer your questions and queries. Okay then, so it's 10 o'clock and I'm going to hand over to Pete. Thank you, Pete.
Thanks, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome today. We really appreciate you, as Sarah said, taking the time to join us today for this NetThreat webinar in association with SonicWall. As many of you will know, my name's Pete Cord. I'm sure you will have had some sort of interaction with me by now. In fact, it's coming up to 7 years since I first started working for Pete Kearney and John Raymond at NetThreat, and time has really flown by in a good way. So the main purpose of today really is to take a look at SonicWall's annual threat report, their cyber threat report, to see what's changed over the last year. But I think more importantly, to see how you as a business owner can look to better protect your own organization. So Stan, before I pass over to Stan, he'll be covering all the different changes that have happened in the threat landscape in the last 12 months. And as Sarah said earlier, to help us, navigate through all the facts and figures, Stan will be going through that report. He is one of SonicWall's pre-sales solutions architect leaders. So Stan, thank you again for giving us your time today. We really do appreciate that. And just to give you a heads up again, I think Sarah mentioned earlier, we will be concluding with a Q&A as well at the end. So do have your questions ready for us then. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Stan, who will take us through the report. Thank you, Stan.
Thank you for having me, Pete. It's always great to engage with partners, and SonicWall recognizes NetThreat as a platinum partner and expert in securing clients in the SMB space. Just to give you an overview of today's sessions, first we'll start setting the stage by highlighting what is SonicWall Cyber Threat Report and its value add. Then following that, we'll cover 2023 trends and statistics of various threats, along with the interpretation of these trends. This segment will provide critical insights and actionable intelligence needed to safeguard your organization from new or any new emerging cyber threats. And as Pete mentioned, and Sarah, we'll conclude with an interactive Q&A. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat or write it down, and then we will do our best to answer all of them, obviously time permitting. With that, let's get started. Why does it matter? What's in it for you? Why should you care? Over the past 12 months, 57% of organizations with 100 to 5,000 users endure one or more cyber attacks. And these attacks cost a staggering 5.3 million on average. By the end of this session, you should have a good understanding of all current type of cyber behaviors and trends from the digital adversaries to assist you build data-driven solutions which keep your business safe. As the threat landscape continues to grow in complexity and depth, as threat actors adapt new tactics and platforms, SonicWall arms you with threat intelligence, actionable insights to enable you mount the strongest defense possible through this cyber threat report that we're going to share with you. Let's take a look at it at high level. The biggest trend observed in the 2023 landscape was acceleration. SonicWall Capture Labs threat researchers noted an increased attack volumes nearly across the board, with malware up to 11%, encrypted threats up 117%, and here this one, cryptojacking hits up 659% year-over-year growth. Almost every region recorded triple or quadruple digit jumps. Small businesses are often the subject of these threats. They are 3 times more likely to be targeted by the threat actors than the large organizations. These SMB attacks represent billions of dollars in losses each year. While malware dropped consistently in the early 2020s, recent increases have brought malware volume back to its pre-pandemic levels. Based on a comparison of the first half of the 2023 with the second half of the year, we can reasonably predict that these attacks will continue to rise as we move through 2024. As threat actors grew more active, we saw several new developments in 2023, including the use of Microsoft OneNote files as the initial vectors, massive vulnerability exploits targeting WinRAR, and I'm sure you've read and you've seen the news, an increase also in the malicious PDF files. Last year, we saw threat actors seeking new shores. Malware rose 11% to 6 billion attacks in 2023. The highest attack volume since 2019, but in 2023, there was a renewed focus on targeting a different region, particularly North America. North American LATAM attacks rose 15% and 30% respectively. For our threat report, we take a deeper dive into 5 industries: retail, healthcare, government, education, and finance. Out of those 5, 4 saw an increase in malware in 2023, with education being the sole exception. Healthcare and retail customers, both of those saw a 20% increase in overall malware volume, while government spiked 38%. But the hardest hit was the financial sector, where malware attacks doubled. A downward trend in ransomware, and that's an important key of the threat report, was also reflected across several regions. North America and Europe each saw ransomware fall by 1/3, and in LATAM, attacks fell by 52%. Asia was a notable exception. Ransomware here has generally been low, but in 2023, attacks rose to 17 million, a new record for the region, and a 1,627 increase since 2019. So what does this suggest? Threat actors are working to reduce their risk by moving away from mass spray and pray attacks to more stealthy, strategic, targeted, and subtle ways of attacking. Word of caution: we see SMBs down in ransomware while other data sets seeing increase. SMBs hardening. Ransomware of SMBs may not be as attractive to criminals as it was in the previous years. With ransomware saturated, criminals look to other nefarious attacks. The cyber threat landscape remains volatile. Despite the drop in ransomware, attacks of all varieties have risen. With malicious intrusions, malware, cryptojacking, and encrypted threats all up, illicit attacks clearly aren't going anywhere, and we're going to look at those type of attacks closely. What is the time we've been doing this? So think of SonicWall. Since SonicWall began reporting this metric of threat reports in 2013, so that's over 10 years, over a decade, the number of intrusion attempts has increased each year. And over the past decade, the number of intrusion has risen 613%. This isn't just a symptom of the increasing attack surface. Malicious intrusions have risen as well. These attempts set off alerts that need to be reviewed by SOC analysts, MSPs and SOC analysts, contributing to different alert fatigue, taking time away from other critical initiatives, and when a successful intrusion occurs, potentially grinding operations to a halt and costing thousands or even millions in remediation cost and compliance fines as well. Another component which is worth being aware of and mentioning is the encrypted threats or attacks that are sent over encrypted connections. And I'm going to talk over HTTPS, so that's the secure web traffic, those attacks were also up across every region. So this is a constant across regions. North America saw a comparatively modest increase of 30%, but triple digits jumps were recorded in Europe, Asia, and LATAM, where encrypted attacks rose 182%, 462%, and 527% respectively. Even sharper increases were observed across the industries we studied, all of which experienced triple-digit spikes. Now, what does it mean? So let's bring it into context. With 80 through 90% of network traffic now being encrypted, the ability to scan encrypted traffic has never been more critical. And I will drill down a bit in a later slide on this impact of the encrypted threats. Some threat actors are supplementing or shifting away from ransomware in favor of the slower, behind-the-scene approach of stealing compute power to mine digital currency. Cryptojacking volume surpassing 1 billion for the first time is huge. But look at those bars for November and December. Each of those represents more cryptojacking hits than we observed for all of 2022. In 2023, an unprecedented 1 in 6 malware hits was crypto-focused. What does it mean? Cryptojacking is much lower risk than ransomware, so threat actors can cut risks while preserving the potential for financial gain. Crypto mining has been ranked among the most harmful industries for the environment. It can result in overheating, shortened device life, and significantly higher energy bills. And that's only the case when we talk on-prem. Think about if the bad actors manage to hit a cloud environment where you have the scaling automatically happening. So immediately you will try to maintain that resources. So you will span off another virtual appliance, and that gets out of the control. Guess what will happen with your bill to the cloud as well at the end of the month or at the end of quarter or year in these cases. What does the data tell us? What does this data tell us? Think of what we see at the Capture Labs. And so Capture ATP identified over 380,000 never-before-seen malware variants in the 2023. This included the 290,000 detected by RTDMI, real-time deep memory inspection, which is the lowest in the last 3 years. What does it mean for us? What does this suggest? Combined with the rising attack volumes nearly across the board, this data shows that attacks aren't actually slowing down. Think of, we talked about intrusions, we'll see some numbers, we talk about malware going up, but fewer new threats. That's what it means. Increased attacks means the bad actors are leveraging existing tools. So you have less new threats, but the attacks are increasing. And it also means they have found certain variants that work, so they stick with them repeatedly. The battlegrounds continue to expand, creating more of a global concern, and seeking weak points of entry could suggest global enterprise needs to step up their defenses and also in new ways. Let's double click on UK region. to make it more meaningful for us. We have malware, ransomware, IoT, and cryptojacking attacks in this graph that you are seeing on the screen. While we'll look at intrusion attempts in the next slide. I've kept that separately due to the difference in scale of the intrusion attempts. What are some of the facts we learn in the UK? In spite of a large drop in the malware attacks, which dropped by 28% in the UK is still third in the total ransomware attempts. Just to give you a perspective, we recorded 14 millions or over 14 millions last year just in UK of ransomware attempts. Here's something that's aligned with other regions. Cryptojacking in UK spikes an astounding 1,354%. It is the biggest jump in any tracked region that we've been tracking. So virtually every statistical category that we've been talking to and we mentioned, but ransomware grew this year, and that's clear, and it's also observed in the UK. I've just said earlier about the intrusions. The overall UK intrusion attempts were increased last year with 18% over 2022. So, all right, we talked about the data, we talked about what we've seen at our sensors. You need to understand we have over 1.1 million sensors just in the firewall, but we get intelligence coming from endpoints, email security, SMA, secure mobile access. So we have a full portfolio, cloud edge security. So it's not just the firewalls. I've just shared what the number of files of sensors we have. So that's our ecosystem where we got this data. So we've seen the data. We know for certain nobody, and you yourself, you can't avoid being targeted. But what is it that you can do? So what is it that we can do to strengthen? What are some of the fundamental actions you can take to strengthen your security posture? And I've highlighted those in blue, the ones that you're seeing. So let me comment a bit on each of them before we moved into the next session. So think of the multi-factor authentication. Why is that important? And why you should consider enabling? Use two or multi-factor authentication for all requests. And let me say, including the ones you deem as trusted or you deem as coming from internal trusted network. And ask yourself, is my security solution performing continuous authentication and authorization of my high value assets and any connections that are coming and trying to access those assets? What about inspecting encrypting traffic? Think of what the experts are estimating. 80–90% of all the network traffic today is encrypted. How many, but look at your legacy firewall, most of the legacy firewalls lack the capability of processing power to inspect, detect, and mitigate cyber attacks sent via encrypted communication channels, let alone using the latest ciphers. Think of TLS 1.3. So threat actors, when the data shows out of all encrypted traffic, 70% of it uses TLS 1.3. So threat actors routinely use encryption to deploy and execute malware and exfiltrate sensitive data. According to the SonicWall data that we've seen from 2022 to 2023, malware sent over HTTPS increased by 117%. SonicWall recorded 15.8 million encrypted attacks in 2023, almost as many as in 2021 and 2022 combined. So the growth in encrypted traffic and encrypted threats only highlights the necessity of ensuring the encrypted traffic is also inspected by your security solutions. If this is really not possible now, you need to ask yourself, is my security solution still capable of providing a high level of security by detecting and preventing threats at an earlier layers, such as filtering DNS requests prior the encryption connections getting established? So think of those different layer security strategy. MDR services, incorporating a managed detection response into your security strategies ensures continuous defense against cyber threats and also provides you with peace of mind. How are you extending your protection to the cloud? Think more and more companies are moving data and workflows to the cloud, more comprehensive, flexible approaches. And how are you using those security solutions? Think of secure service edge, zero trust network architecture. These have been there for years, but are you embracing those security strategies that you see in the news? All of those, while before you could have looked at them as optional, are now becoming a necessity for today's hybrid work environments. How are you testing regularly your network? Are you conducting regular security assessments? This will help you identify vulnerabilities, assess risk, proactively strengthen defenses, ensuring robust protection against evolving threats. There are different ways you can conduct security assessments. Think of the usual legacy or basic pen test, to red and blue teaming, unbeknown tests against your business. If you have any questions, reach out to your partner, reach out to your security provider, to your partner as well, to discuss what kind of security assessments you should consider. And lastly, but not at least, one of the most significant cybersecurity vulnerabilities always seems to turn out to be the employees themselves, the human part. Thus, I would say, remind employees of cybersecurity hygiene, best practices, not just when they're in the office, when they're at home, when they're traveling, when they're remote connecting from a cafe. And with that, I'd like to hand it over back to Pete, who will tell us more about the NetThreat, and then we will move into the Q&A section. Pete, over to you.
Thank you, Stan. Yeah, lots of really useful and important information there. Thank you so much for that. So just a little bit about NetThreat. As Stan mentioned earlier, we're one of SonicWall's largest partners in the UK. We're very proud to hold that platinum status with the vendor as well. It's something that we don't hold lightly at all, and we are therefore a very well-established company within the industry. The business was started back in I think the early noughties by Jonathan Raymond. And we do like to retain very strong links within the channel itself, right up to the senior management team as well, who are based in the US, of course, which does come in handy if we need to escalate any issues at all. So that's really useful indeed. So in terms of in-house expertise, a lot of you may be familiar with Preston and some of our other engineers as well. We're very fortunate to have at least two SonicWall technical masters in the team. Therefore, you're in very safe hands from a deployment and a support standpoint as well. You're in very good hands there. And as I mentioned, a big shout out to Preston. I know he'll love me mentioning him. So there we go. I've done it. From a commercial perspective, though, I know I've assisted many of you with pricing inquiries. Your various projects that you've been working on over the last number of years. And I just wanted to make it clear at this stage that we are able to price match on all current quotes. So if you have received a quotation elsewhere, please do give us the opportunity, and we'll do our very best to price match that for you. Now we have something very exciting to share with you, something which is proving to be quite popular with a number of our customers, resellers and users alike, and will potentially change how you purchase hardware going forwards. And that is that we can now offer monthly payment options. So how does it work then? Very simple, very straightforward, to be quite honest. There's nothing to pay up front. Essentially, what you'll do is you'll order one part code, one SKU. There's one monthly fee. And all we require is commitment, essentially, of 24 months initially. So there's a 2-year commit. That monthly fee includes the hardware, and then either the essential or the advanced bundle, the security suite itself, that's included. Whether you want the NSM reporting that Advanced gives you, or you just want the Essential. Essential, of course, as you probably know, still includes Capture, ATP, and all those other useful, very important services as well. So you've got the option of the 2 suite bundles there, as well as expert in-house support as well from our own NetThreat engineers. I mentioned Preston earlier on. We do have other engineers as well in-house that can help. So after the initial 24 months, you can either continue with monthly payments, or you can pay a small amount, which I think is likely to be 1 month's payment, to purchase the hardware outright. And then all you do is simply license it with an annual subscription, or if you wish to switch from the that's if you wish to switch from the monthly option, that is. So you've got a few options then. All we need to do to set this up really is we'll get in touch with a contract of sorts. We don't really like the word contract, but it is essentially a contract. It's an agreement between the two of us. We'll set up the direct debit for all the subsequent payments. So as I mentioned earlier, it's all really straightforward and simple. So we'll get in touch with you following that. Please do get in touch with us if that is of any interest, because as I mentioned earlier, it is proving to be quite popular with a lot of our resellers and end users alike, and it's something we're really keen to start pushing more now. So that's quite exciting for us. At NetThreat, we do like to provide outstanding customer service. We believe that we have a duty of care to provide the very best possible solution for you. We also try to reply to emails as quickly as we possibly can, with quotations, answers to your inquiries, whatever they may be, technical or otherwise. And of course, we do all of this without sacrificing on the quality. Another point to just briefly make before we go towards the end, and I know I'm just conscious we've got Q&A as well, and I'm sure many of you will have lots and lots of questions for us. So just wanted to mention the climate positive guarantee, which is on our website. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. I know Sarah will be very proud of me for mentioning this. When you purchase a new firewall, thank you. When you purchase a new firewall from us, from any of our vendors, we guarantee to compensate for the carbon footprint of the appliance for the entirety of what's known as its useful life. We achieve this by working with leading carbon offset companies, and we've contributed towards numerous projects over the years in order to offset our remaining footprint. We're very proud to say that we are in fact climate positive, not just climate neutral. So I just wanted to get that in there as well at the end. Stan, unless there's anything else you want to mention or talk about, I think it's time for Q&A. Sure. We're towards the end. We're getting towards concluding this webinar.
Yep. We'll take questions now. All good. Thank you.
I have unmuted the mics if anybody would like to ask a question, or of course use the chat facility. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Lee.
Hi, Lee.
Hi, Lee.
Just a quick one. Between NetThreat and SonicWall, have we got any automated emails that can go out instead of using the blog page or anything like a newsletter or anything?
Yeah, do you want me to take this one, Pete?
Yes, please, Sarah.
Yes, so we do have what we refer to as our NetThreat knowledge mailers that we send out on a regular basis. So that highlights any technical news, new promotions, new offers. Lee, I can certainly add you to that and make sure that you get all of those updates as and when they come through. We're also starting to look at new more efficient ways to communicate with our customers so that you can get that information more quickly, and any updates again on that will come out via the newsletters. Yeah,
that would be absolutely perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. Yeah, no, leave that with me. Thank you.
Yes, and if I can add on the SonicWall side, we also have Cafe Tech sessions, which probably, depending on you, we have Cafe Biz, which are more focused on the commercial audience sessions, and then we have Cafe Tech sessions, which are more focused on the technical stakeholders. So think of from your most senior solutions engineer, most senior solutions architect principals, or even the CTOs can join those Cafe Tech sessions. And when you look on the commercial side, you have the C-suite, they can join the Cafe Biz one. So that's what we have in SonicWall, and they should be available and throughout the whole social media.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the question.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Of course, if there is anything that comes to mind when we've closed the session, please do feel free to reach out to us. The telephone numbers are on the screen. Happy to take things offline and have chats as appropriate. Thank you. Okay, if there are no further questions, I'd just like to once again thank Stan Davidson for his expert analysis into the cyber landscape over the 12 months, and of course to my colleague Pete Cord, and of course thank you to you all for joining us this morning. I hope it's been a useful session for you, and if you are watching on demand, please let us know how we can help you. Thanks for your time, appreciate it. Thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Our pleasure.
Bye bye
Thanks,
now.
Stan.
Bye
Bye.
to all.